Two-time All-Star Mark Mulder is here. Mark, good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for
How's
having
everything going?
Everything's great. We have beautiful weather. I mean, I know there was some worry about rain for this week, but it doesn't look like we're going to have it, and we got a great group of guys.
Yeah, it's great weather. How much are you following baseball these days?
Not that much, because once, 4 o'clock Arizona time, 3 o'clock when my kids get out of school, it's the rat race starts.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids have sports, my daughter has dance, stuff like that. So it's kind of hard until I sit down, maybe after dinner, turn on one of the channels, see what game is on. I might catch a little bit of it, but I don't catch enough to be educated on it.
Mm-hmm. Are you seeing the way that guys, are picking up pitches like it's nothing these days? Like, have you seen how it's a whole thing in spring training and everybody tests out, 1, 2, 3 pitches and make those changes? I felt like, and it's not like you played that long ago, but when you did that, it was a huge deal. It'd be like a couple guys we'd cover for the whole year.
Sure. It's just, I don't know, man. It's a different, I don't want to sound like the old guy. It's just a different game. I mean, everything is maxed out. There's no, I'm going to try to pitch into the 7th, 8th, 9th inning. It's just throw it at every pitch, fastball, slider, as hard as you can. Every hitter's trying to go deep, hit the ball as hard as they can every single time. They're not worried about strikeouts. They're not worried about putting the ball in play. And I'm not saying that you need to. I'm just saying it's just a very different game. And when I watch, it's sort of frustrating watching the game because I get frustrated watching these pitchers who throw 100, who constantly think they have to throw sliders. But it's because they don't command their fastball that they have to rely on their breaking ball, and they get beat then when they fall behind and have to throw a fastball. And as AJ knows, when 100's coming, any good hitter's going to hit it. I don't care how hard you throw. If a guy knows it's coming, he's going to be on it. And it's just hard.
But you guys relied more on movement and location, right?
Yeah.
You could have thrown probably 100 back when you came up, when you came out of Michigan State. You probably could have hit close to 100.
If I tried to throw as hard as I could all the time to train for it,
yeah. But you wouldn't have been as good probably because you wouldn't have thrown that sinker in on my hands every freaking time and broke my bat. So, I would have rather had you doing that than running the sinker in. But what I think, Scott, and I also want to know, though, is like if you had the TrackMan, right, that they have now, and you could say, like, oh, move your hand this much or do this, right, to make the ball do.
Yeah.
Would that have helped or hurt you? Because you come across, and from when I've talked to you, more of like a feel guy. Like, I don't need to feel it.
Yeah.
But every guy now throws a bullpen, and they go, and then they turn around and look at the iPad, and they're like, oh, if I just make a little adjustment, I can. Would you think you would have been that guy?
I think I probably, absolutely, I would have tinkered with it. I would have wanted to have known what made my sinker what it was, or what made your breaking ball what it is, or your split, or, how can you improve those pitches? But I think there could have been a part where you get a little obsessed with it, where you're trying to do something that maybe your body just doesn't do. I used to joke with people every time one of our catchers wanted an elevated fastball, I'd throw something neck high to change the eye level for the hitter, and they'd whack a single the other way. And I'm like, I don't ever throw a pitch up there. How'd you just hit that? But that's not where I threw a baseball. I couldn't throw up there. So no matter how many balls I threw down in the zone, throwing something up did me no good. And so I never had an understanding. I always thought to have a sinker, you must have had a high spin rate. That's how stupid I was. Then somebody educated tells you, no, you actually didn't have much spin. That's why it did that. Oh, all right. So that makes me wonder how much I would have, what do I need to do to create more spin? Well, then that might have ruined my sinker. That might have, there's a lot of ifs when it comes to that stuff. But for me personally, I'm just glad I didn't play at that time where I had that kind of stuff to worry about.
All right. So you made your debut over 25 years ago. Not to make you feel old, but you said, oh, man, I don't want to be one of these guys who's looking at the game and it's different. What about 25 years before you? What were they looking at you at 22 years old and saying, oh, man, if I was 6'6", I could have done this? Or what, how was it? How did you guys in your time revolutionize it like they are right now?
I don't think we were as different. I want to say most of the guys that I've talked to who, let's say, played in the 70s or 80s, they used to make tons of comments to us about our contracts, about what we were making, as opposed to the pitching stuff. Or they would make comments to me when I would sit in the dugout with Bob Gibson when I was with St. Louis. Gibby, or he used to make more comments about why we don't drill more guys and knock more guys down and pitch more that way. And he'd call us certain names for why we didn't do more of that. So, I think every generation or whatever you want to call it has their certain things that they don't like about that next generation, or that frustrates them a little bit. But those were some of my favorite days, sitting in the dugout with Gibson sitting there, and it was me and Chris Carpenter and a few guys, and he'd sit there, and some young kid would come in for the Marlins or whoever we're playing, and he'd be like, "Oh, this kid has no chance." We're looking at him like, "What do you mean? This is like one of their first rounders." Sure enough, 3 years later, the kid's out of baseball. And you're just like, all right, he saw something that was important. I'm not sure what, but it was always interesting sitting with guys like him.
Mm-hmm. Hey, I want to ask you about the A's. So you played at the Coliseum, and sometimes conditions were rugged, right? But did you ever think that now you'd be watching a team that's going to be playing in a minor league park now for the whole season here just now, and then a few more to go?
Yeah. I mean, at least they broke ground in Vegas.
Yeah.
Because I'd heard from some A's people that if it didn't happen by June or July, they were going to really be concerned. Listen, this is Major League Baseball, and we have 2 teams playing in AAA stadiums. I get it, the Rays thing is different, but it's just uncalled for. It's awful. I mean, I remember in 02 or 03 with Oakland, we were supposed to have a new stadium in a few years. That was the whole talk then, and here we are. You have one person protest in the Bay Area, and they cancel the whole thing. So it's just a sad situation. I mean, when you lose an In-N-Out that's across the street from the stadium, you're doing something wrong. That whole, you can't, no families were going to take the BART train in to watch games. It's not safe. The whole area is awful, and that's a city problem. And they don't deserve a team to be there, in all fairness. So I'm not surprised by it at all, but it makes me incredibly sad because they've lost the Warriors, the Raiders, and now the A's. And because of that area is just going to get worse and worse. So it's just a sad situation, and it's sad that Major League Baseball even let it get to here.
You can't argue. All right, so are you an A's fan or a Cardinals fan? Which one do you consider yourself?
I'd probably say, I was a Cardinal fan for more years just because Yachty and Wainwright were still playing. Those were kind of my last 2 hang-ons from my career that were still in the game. So it became, once I was done, it became you're just pulling for your buddies.
Yeah.
You want to see them well. You want to see them play well. I didn't care who they were with or that kind of stuff. I mean, sadly, growing up on the south side of Chicago, I still do check and see how the White Sox do. It's
that's not very good either lately. But
it's just
better.
It is. It's just a thing. I mean, when we lost in the championship series in 2004, and I lost that final game with St. Louis, that was the hardest thing for me because I wanted to play the White Sox. That was my hometown, and that was my hometown team, and that was a tough one. 05, sorry.
Yeah, correct yourself.
Yes,
otherwise people will say, 05.
04.
So you didn't want none of that smoke.
So that was
you didn't want any of that.
One.
It would have ended like 02. Okay?
Yes, but with JD over there and things like that, it was something I wanted to be a part of.
All right, so you mentioned Oakland's fans. Did you see what the attendance was in St. Louis last night? It was the first time they had under 20,000 people at a game at New Busch.
So I knew that it has been getting worse, but I didn't know it was like
last
that.
Night was the first time I think they've had under 20,000 people at New Busch. Did you ever because I played for the Cardinals?
No, I never could have imagined that.
I never would have thought it would be like that.
They live and die with that stuff. That city it's one of the baseball crazy cities.
Yeah.
And I never would have imagined that. I mean, I have seen that their attendance has been down, but I didn't know it was like that.
All right, golf game. Let's finish with that. Where are we at right now?
It's all right, but it's the same thing. It's who's going to make more putts. It's not going to play it all that long. There's a large handful of us that can all win this thing. There's probably 10, 12 guys that I think really legitimately have a chance. So who's going to make more putts on these grainy Bermuda greens? And because birdies win, so you got to avoid double bogeys and make as many birdies as possible. You can make bogeys, but the double bogeys are where the minus points are. So you got to try and avoid those. So you start getting the putter hot, and hopefully here on the last day I'll have a chance.
Who's the favorite? Marty?
I would probably say Pavelski or Marty. If you had a betting line, they'd probably be the 2 favorites. But just like any other year in any of these tournaments that we do, you get hot, and anybody's got a shot.
You're in the big group now. You're with Marty, Smoltz, Pavelski, and Mulder.
Yeah,
those are like the favorites, right?
Sort of.
First group off. You know, the big TV.
Well, we can hopefully set the tone.
Okay.
We start throwing in a bunch. We start throwing in a bunch. You make everybody behind you a little nervous, but we're all amateurs for a reason. We can all have some rough days when they roll around. So You're just trying to avoid those big numbers.
Is there anything to, like, when you guys were starting pitchers and one guy would get rolling and the next guy wanted to follow? So if you're playing with those four and one of them gets rolling, even if it's you get rolling, do you think the other three can catch that momentum and
100%.
go with you?
In golf, I think, sometimes that vibe in your group is a big part of it.
You're going to be playing music and do it because Smoltz.
Oh yeah, somebody will.
You don't think
somebody
Smoltz
will have
get a little angry if you guys start bumping music?
My phone will have something playing.
Okay.
But I'm also in the cart with Pavelski, so Smoltz will be with Marty, but I don't care.
That's fine.
That's his problem to deal with. There was nothing on the paperwork that said no music, so let's put it that way.
Exactly.
If he wants he's a commish. If he wants no music, he better put it in the paperwork.
Right. And hey, this already started, so it'd have to be for the next tournament. All right, Kratz, you got last one.
All right, one of the competitors that's not at this tournament, your son. Does he beat you in this round today?
He wants to know if your son will beat you in a round of golf.
Yes, my son would definitely beat me. We have a college visit, his final college visit next week. Make a decision where he's going to go play golf after that. And, I still beat him from time to time, just when he plays really poorly. So I started putting the date in my phone of when I beat him, where it is, and the score. Because I had a buddy whose son played professionally who told me, he's like, listen, the day of your final victory is coming sooner than later. So you better try and remember it and put it down. So I keep a note in my phone so that I'll have it forever.
What are the options?
Santa Clara, Marquette, Ole Miss, UCLA. So we'll see.
None of those are bad choices.
No, they're all very different.
They're all different spots.
Very different parts of the country.
Cold weather, warm weather.
Yeah.
South, north, west. Yeah, crazy.
Well,
by the way, you guys have all changed. I told some of the other guys earlier, you guys are in carts now. What happened? You guys used to all walk? Now you guys get carts? It's because Smoltz had
Smoltz, he had the hips replaced, and he wants to play in under 4 hours. That's his whole goal. So we're probably going to play the front nine in 3:40, and then the back nine will catch up to everybody going off 10. And he'll be mad. It'll be 4.5 hours or 2.5 hours on the back, and he'll get pissed.
Pace of play.
Exactly.
That's what it's all
Keep it
about
up
these days. Yeah. Well, good luck.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.